Donald O'Connor's life is a history of American entertainment itself, a tale of vaudeville, Hollywood musicals, television variety shows, and the lasting connections made behind the glamour of show business. Born Donald David Dixon Ronald O'Connor on August 28, 1925, in Chicago, Illinois, he was seemingly cut out for the stage the moment he came into the world. His parents were vaudevillians, touring relentlessly around the United States with their act, and little Donald was surrounded by the beat of rehearsals, the radiance of the footlights, and the endless movement of a life lived in performance. Entertainment wasn't something he found. It was the air that he breathed from his childhood. But his youth was not only filled with the glamour of stage curtains and applause, it was also marked by shattering tragedy. Some of his siblings died early, and such loss may have shattered a weaker spirit. But instead, O'Connor appeared to have forged resilience early on, combined with a seemingly limitless energy that eventually became his screen-defining trademark. Even before the cameras started rolling in Hollywood, his life was making him the entertainer the world would later come to worship. O'Connor's life as a film actor started impressively early. At the age of 11, he made his film debut, the beginning of a screen career that would span decades. During the 1930s and 1940s, he became Universal Studios' most reliable young star. He frequently played the cheerful sidekick or the young star opposite legends such as Bing Crosby and Peggy Ryan, and even as a teen showed the combination of charm, wit, and athletic dancing that enthralled crowds. Most child stars have difficulty following through into adult careers, but Donald negotiated the transition with apparent ease. His youthful good looks, speedy smile, and affable nature kept him in the public eye, while his absolute adaptability, just as happy to sing, dance, or craft a good wisecrack, guaranteed his ongoing popularity. His partnerships with Peggy Ryan and Gloria Jean in a string of low-key musicals gave him increasing notice, and by the late 1940s he was securely established as a dependable studio system star. But the greatest was yet to come. The 1950s were the peak of O'Connor's career, and one performance in them secured his place in the history of cinema. Singin' in the Rain, 1952, appearing with Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds, O'Connor gave a legendary performance, particularly in the spectacular number Make 'Em Laugh. That set piece, which was a mixture of slapstick and brilliant physicality, required so much effort that O'Connor allegedly had to stay in bed for days after. Nevertheless, it became one of the greatest musical numbers ever, a scene revered, loved, and watched again and again through the years. His performance in the film revealed not only his physical humor, but his natural warmth, which shone from the screen and won him the hearts of millions. To many people, Donald O'Connor epitomized pure entertainment, the type that made people laugh, gasp, and cheer proportionately. Donald's career, however, was not reduced to musicals alone. He appeared in the Francis the Talking Mule films, winning hearts as the charming soldier Peter Sterling with a wisecracking mule. Even though in later years he acknowledged, occasionally resenting being so identified with those pictures, he could not dispute their popularity. People loved them, and they largely helped him achieve household name status. O'Connor's talent was his ability to glide effortlessly from slapstick to sincerity. One would send audiences into guffaws with a pratfall 1 minute, and the next melt their hearts with a ballad or an exposure of vulnerability. Few performers could command that range, and it's what made him different from many of his peers. His gifts were not confined to the silver screen. Donald O'Connor became a force on stage and television too. During the 1950s, he starred in The Donald O'Connor Show, showing his versatility as a comedian, musician, and host. He also appeared in innumerable talk shows, comedy specials, stage shows, Broadway, and Las Vegas performances. His efforts even gained him a Primetime Emmy Award for Best Male Star of a Regular Series in 1954. In the same year, he was asked to present the Academy Awards, another proof of his charisma and versatility. As the golden age of musicals came to an end, O'Connor's capacity for reinvention kept him in the game. He remained to amuse audiences on television and went on to make appearances in the movies well into the 1990s, such as in Out to Sea 1997, with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Again and again, he demonstrated that his comic sense of timing, likability, and genuineness never lost their shelf life. His professional success was matched by his personal life, which, as with his career, was filled with pages marked by troubles and dedication. O'Connor was twice married. His first marriage was in 1944, when at the tender age of 18, he married Gwendolyn Carter in Tijuana, Mexico. She was a bit older than him, and they had their daughter, Donna. But like many early Hollywood marriages, the demands of work and differences between them eventually caused them to divorce in 1954. Donald married actress Gloria Noble 2 years later. Their union was the foundation of his personal life, with which he lived for 47 years until his passing in 2003. He had 3 additional children with Gloria, Alicia, Fred, and Kevin, and they established a steady household in Thousand Oaks, California. In contrast to most Hollywood marriages, theirs stood through the decades of Hollywood high and low, underpinned by shared passion and strength. Gloria stood by him during success and health problems both, keeping him rooted in a manner that kept him strong despite the stresses of show business. Yet above all the honors, awards, and professional achievements, perhaps the most tellingly revealing part of Donald O'Connor's life is the deep devotion he felt for his co-star Debbie Reynolds. Whenever he was questioned on his career, O'Connor always returned to Reynolds, talking with warmth and admiration that extended far beyond mere admiration. Their relationship was formed while making Singin in the Rain, a film that pushed both of them to their limits. Debbie was only young and didn't have any dance training at the time. O'Connor used to tell with reverence how hard she tried to keep pace with him and Gene Kelly, both professional dancers. One of the most hardworking women I ever knew was how he frequently described her, recalling how she practiced until her feet were sore and worked herself to a state of exhaustion just to reach their level of proficiency. To Donald, her persistence was not only commendable but motivational. She had been catapulted into a sea of chaos, but she not only weathered it, she succeeded, gaining stardom of her own. O'Connor also praised her as a person. Debbie was just wonderful, he'd say with a grin. She was witty, she was charming, and she could illuminate a room. She was loved by people, and I was one of them. What he remembered of Reynolds was not just that she was a co-star, but a friend whose warmth and humor could light up even the most demanding days on location. Not only was she a pro at work, but also she was a survivor of personal crises. She endured so much in her own life, he mused, and yet she always seemed to smile, to laugh, and to keep going. That's genuine strength. In Donald's eyes, Debbie Reynolds was not only the radiant film star frozen on the big screen. She was a tough, funny, and compassionate woman. She was like family to me, he once confessed. Those words said it all about the intensity of their bond. They had lived side by side in shared trenches, the endless rehearsal hours, the hard-boiled directors, the merciless studio system. And from such mutual experiences, a bond developed that outsiders could scarcely comprehend. To O'Connor, Reynolds was the epitome of Hollywood. Talent infused with honesty, glamour with grit. Even years afterward, long after the golden musicals were a distant memory, he talked about her with undeniable affection. She was one of a kind, he told one of his last interviews. There'll never be another Debbie Reynolds. His were words of both tribute and legacy, testimony to the sincere respect and affection he bore her all his life. While Donald O'Connor spoke of Debbie Reynolds with reverence, his own later years were filled with personal struggles that tried his strength once more. In 1990, he had undergone quadruple bypass heart surgery, a grim reminder of what his physically taxing performances had cost him. For a man whose identity had been so inextricably bound up in vitality and movement, to be confronted by such health issues was sobering. 9 years later, in 1999, he developed pleural pneumonia, a serious infection that came close to taking his life. It took enormous strength to recover from his trauma, and again he showed the same resilience that had led him through so many battles. Nevertheless, illness and age were relentless foes, and on September 27th, 2003, Donald O'Connor died of complications due to heart failure at the age of 78. Donald O'Connor died at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California, a suitable last residence for a man who had given his life to the world of entertainment. The grief that ensued following his passing was a testament to what he had accomplished. Fans across generations recalled him as the individual who could make them laugh until their sides hurt, one who could astound them with gravity-defying choreography, and one who could portray sincerity in a manner that remained timeless. But maybe as important as his performances were the things that he left behind in reflection. His praise for co-stars like Debbie Reynolds, his anecdotes of Hollywood's golden age, and the love he had for family and friends. His words spoke of a man who, in all his fame, never forgot the people around him. He praised Debbie Reynolds not only for her work, but for her humanness. He loved his family not only because they were in his life, but because they kept him rooted in the maelstrom of Hollywood. And he loved his audiences not only as fans, but because they were sharers of the pleasure of entertainment. Donald O'Connor's legacy, therefore, is doubled. On the one, he is perpetuated by his performances, by Make 'Em Laugh, by Francis the Talking Mule, by all of his numerous appearances on stage and screen. Conversely, though, he is remembered by the love and respect that he showed to others, most poignantly in his affectionate descriptions of Debbie Reynolds. He demonstrated that through the sequins and the spotlight lay genuine friendships, genuine hardships, and genuine admiration. His own life story reminds us that the golden age of Hollywood was not all about glamour, but human touch, about individuals like O'Connor and Reynolds who dedicated their entire lives to their work and also built relationships that endured forever.